Guys, give me a few seconds. I'm gonna do the audio thingy on my laptop and then we can get started, alright? Let's go. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel / my podcast. I am the marketing nomad. My name is Prithvi Madhukar. I am the author of 0 to 4 Figures and Self-Love. I'm also a digital entrepreneur and a business owner. Few of the roles that I do take on: I'm a YouTuber, podcaster, Etsy shop owner, Skillshare teacher, and a marketing strategy consultant as well. All of the links are in the description box below if you'd like to check it out. Welcome to episode 193 of the Ask TMN series, where we're going to be getting into 5 tips that I have for you to improve your decision-making skills. Now, if you're new here and you're wondering, well, what's this Ask TMN thing that she just spoke about? So Ask TMN is a series that I created where I answer some of the most commonly asked questions that solopreneurs may have about marketing, business, as well as mindset. Now, if those 3 topics interest you, definitely do hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because that tells you every single podeo I do upload, and I do upload a couple of these every single week. Alrighty, without further ado, let's get into today's podeo. Now, the basis of this podeo is something that we've actually a little bit touched upon with the title itself, and that is decision making is a skill. All right, and that's a good thing for us, because especially when it comes to solopreneurship or entrepreneurship, decision making is the most integral part of the process, isn't it? I mean, there's so much pressure on us to make the right decisions because everything regarding the business is on our shoulders. You know, there's no manager out there telling you, all right, this is the decision that you have to make, or this would be a better choice, or there's no year-end review to tell you, all right, this was a decision that you made maybe 2 months ago and it has been working so far for you, so on and so forth. Everything kind of rests on us, and that of course leads to an insane amount of pressure on us. But at the same time, one thing that I personally love about solopreneurship or entrepreneurship is the decision making is on my shoulders. It's kind of that thing where there's a pro and there's a con to it, and in my opinion, for me, I think the pro outweighs the con. But, I wouldn't even say it's a con. I think it's just that given it is like the repercussions of your decision are so high, like the magnitude of the decisions that you make, the impact of those decisions are so high, that I do understand where that pressure comes from. But like we mentioned at the beginning, it's a skill, which means it can be worked upon, which means it can be improved upon, which means all it takes is practice. And I love that about decision making. I just absolutely love that. It just means that if I'm intentional about the work I'm putting in towards my decision making, towards the process, towards my thought process as well, not just the framework of decision making, but even my thought process, that means I am honing that skill, which means I can get better at it, which means you can also get better at it. And that is the fundamental of this entire podeo. And that's one thing that I also personally really like about decision making, is that it's on me. It's on me to improve that skill. It's on me to figure out how is the best way that I can work that suits me when it comes to decision making. And I hope that with this podeo you can feel that way as well. All right, so that's one thing that we've covered. The second is, if you're looking for a framework with decision making, this podeo is not it. I've actually covered that in my book 0 to 4 Figures. That is a decision making process that has helped me so well. Actually, there are 2 decision making processes that I have in my book 0 to 4 Figures. If you want me to touch upon them, like create another video, I'd be happy to. Let me know in the comment section below. But this podeo is more about 5 additional tips that I have for you to help you improve your existing decision-making skills. All right, I just wanted to clarify all that. This is not a framework, but these are tips to help you. But if you want the framework, let me know in the comment section and I'll get to it. All right, so yes, I'm just looking down at my notes just to see how much I've covered, and I have finished the introduction. Let's get into the first tip that I have for you. And the first tip is, especially when it comes to decision making, clarity is your best friend. All right, clarity is your best friend. And what do I mean when I say clarity? I mean you have to understand what is your overall objective when it comes to the decisions that you are making in a particular field, or even for maybe your business, your personal life, your overall life. What exactly is your overall objective that you hope to achieve with the decision that you have to make, or with the decision that is pending? All right, not just that, it's more about what do you want this decision to lead to? Yes, you've got multiple choices in front of you, but gain clarity about the outcome that you are looking for. The more clear you can get about the outcome you're looking for, trust me, that's how much clarity you are also going to get between the choices that are going to be laid out in front of you. So you've got to gain clarity about the end, so that you can gain clarity about the choices that are in front of you and what those choices are going to be leading you to as well. So for me, especially when it comes to decision making, the process can be anything, all right? People have different frameworks, they have different methods that work for them. But ultimately, one thing that has to tie everything together is the clarity that you have about what that decision is going to lead you to, or what do you want it to lead to. And the more clarity you have with that, okay, and this is just as a side note that I do want to say, what that clarity does is, suppose there are three choices in front of you, A, B, C, all right? Maybe you have gained clarity about the outcome that you want, and suppose at that moment in time, you've chosen choice A, all right? Maybe you've implemented it for a little while and you realize it is not leading you to the outcome that you've desired, which means at that moment in time, you realize and you recognize, all right, choice A is not for me. I can get out and choose B or C or whichever is remaining at that point. And so even if in that moment of time, that clarity is maybe taking you a different path, in the future, that clarity is also what is going to allow you to recognize that you are not on the correct path, or the path that is most aligned to what you really want out of that area or that segment. And it also helps you get out of it as fast as possible. All right, so gaining clarity regardless of where you are in your decision making process, whether you're at the beginning, you're in the middle, you've already implemented it, regardless, all right, keep asking yourself, what is my main objective with this? What am I hoping to achieve with this? What is the end goal for this entire decision that I wish to have, or even for that area of your life as well? All right, that is super, super key. And one thing that I've written over here is, what's the bigger picture that you are going for? That is so, so important, especially when you are looking for a decision making process, because at the end of the day, each one of those decisions, they may be small to you at this moment in time, but each of those small decisions are leading to an overall picture. And the more clarity you have on the bigger picture, on the overall picture that you wish to achieve, yeah, it helps you understand what are the small pieces, what are the small choices that you have to make to get to that big picture. It's kind of like a puzzle, I guess I would say. At some point when you're working through the puzzle, you do realize, all right, that's not going to fit in here. That's going somewhere else because that's not fitting into the bigger picture that I see forming. And so helping you with that recognition as well is so, so important, because sometimes when you are starting out, you may not actually know if that decision is going to lead you to the overall picture that you have. And that's okay. Sometimes that happens, and that's absolutely okay. No one has it all figured out, and sometimes you are not going to have it all figured out when you are at the beginning of your decision making, and that's okay. But as you are going down that path, slowly things start to get clear to you, and it only occurs to you, or you recognize that it's not fitting with the overall picture only if you have the overall picture in your mind. So gain clarity. That is the first step. Regardless of what your framework is, gain clarity about the bigger picture. Gain clarity about what you want at the end of the road. All right? So that is a number one for you. Then number two is gather information. Now, it comes down to the bottom line of what exactly is the decision-making process. Whatever your framework may be, at the end of the day, you make decisions based on the information that you have on hand, right? That is the fundamental process of making a decision. You have information XYZ and then you make a decision based on that, or you think you have XYZ and then you make a decision based on that. And so usually it's the ability to choose based on the information that you have on hand. And so how do you get better at the decision making if it's a skill? You gather information. You make sure you have relevant information that you need to make that decision that is most aligned to you. Now, I personally am not really in favor of saying right decision, wrong decision. I always like to say, like, I kind of correct myself even when I happen to say wrong decision, right decision, because I think that decisions are decisions. At the end of the day, it's about what's aligned to you most, like what you want, and what's not aligned to you. Basically, it's just that. I think we're at that phase in life where it's not about right decision, wrong decision. It's just about what's the outcome that you want. Is that decision in alignment with that, or is that decision not in alignment with that, right? So sometimes even if I, by mistake, I say, okay, is it the wrong decision or the right decision? I actually auto-correct myself. Like, I don't autocorrect, but I correct myself automatically. I correct myself automatically, and I'm like, yeah, no, there's no right or wrong decision. It's just which decision is most aligned to you, which decision is not, okay? And so when we are gathering information, there is a lot of data out there. There is a lot of data out there, but what's important is you have to gather the relevant information, the information that is reliable as well. Sometimes you can make a decision that is not aligned to you based on information that is wrong or information that is irrelevant. So there's a little bit of honing of the skill that happens over here where you have to figure out, in the surplus amount of data that you do have that is available to you, what is relevant to you, what is reliable, what can you depend on, what is it that is going to add as a crucial factor to your decision-making process. And that's a little bit of, I guess I would say also a little bit of trial and error, but at the same time, it's also a skill. So over time, by constantly figuring out, going through your decisions and figuring out, all right, you'll sort of start to realize, I guess by gut, by practice, how people who've had years and years of experience, like they can just look at you and figure things out. Yeah, it becomes sort of that. It becomes second nature to you because you've done it so many times. And so over time, you'll be able to figure out, okay, that's not relevant. That's not reliable. I have to get relevant information. I have to get more reliable information. So when you're starting out, yes, it is going to be a little bit difficult, and trust me, even to this day, I've been making decisions for about 31 years now, but at the same time, it's something new. Like, there's a new aspect of my life that I've got to make a decision about, and of course, it stumps me or it completely throws me off balance, and I think that's part of the process. I think that's life as well. So don't feel too, I guess I would say, disheartened if you feel that you are getting overwhelmed with the amount of information that you have. Take some time, take your time, sit through it, try to decipher, all right, what's actually relevant, what's reliable, what information do I really need at this point in time? And if I don't have it, how can I get that information, all right? So try to be kind to yourself as you're working through it. Like I said, it's a skill. It takes time to hone it. It takes practice. And sometimes if it's just a really big decision that probably matters to you a lot, it's natural. There's a little bit of emotional investment in that. Yes, it's going to throw you off balance a little bit. It happens to all of us. I just want to put that out there, okay? And one thing that I've written here in my notes is gathering information can be so many different ways. It's not necessarily news or, internet sources. No, it can also be seeking out help from your mentors or your friends, family, trusted ones. Maybe get a different perspective on what you're going through, or get different opinions, get different viewpoints, understand, the possible outcomes that could happen. Even that is also gathering information. Like, how are you feeling at this moment in time? What are you thinking? What are the possible choices that are available to you? Sometimes you might not know that You have choice A, B, C, but you also have choice D, E. You may not even recognize that. So even that is part of the process of gathering new information. So it's not necessarily as in data points. It's also about, well, what are you feeling at this moment in time? What are you thinking? What are the choices available to you? What do you want to feel? How do you want to deal with this situation? How do you want to come out of this situation? How do you want to feel when you are out of this situation? How can you get to that point of feeling? So there's like so many different ways that you can tackle when it comes to information, and that's all up to you. All right, you can totally figure that out, and like I said, it's a process. So take it one by one. One thing that I've written in my notes is adapt to new information. So as new information comes to light, don't be rigid. Try to absorb it. Try to understand, all right, how does this change the course of my decision-making process? And it doesn't have to be like something that you saw in the news or headlines or some facts that you've come to figure out. No, it could also just be new information about your feelings. Maybe you're feeling a different way and you want to feel a different way. And so now you have to adapt your decision-making process to how you are feeling currently. There are so many different ways that information can affect the decision-making process. I'd say allow it if you feel right. All right. So understand that sometimes new information is going to come to light and that may affect your decision-making process, and depending on how you see fit, adapt to that new information. All right, so that is number 2 for you. Then number 3 is figure out your outcomes. And this is so important because especially when it comes to decisions, when you make a decision, that's a path that you're choosing, right? And so even though you may have gained clarity about the overall objective, sometimes the outcomes of the paths that you are given, like the choices that you have, may not directly lead to it. It might indirectly lead to it, or it might take some time, but there might be some short-term outcomes that you need to be prepared for, or you need to just take into account in your decision-making process. So there's something that I personally like to do, and that's to figure out, okay, what is this choice going to lead me to? That's it. It's just a very simple question that I ask myself that, all right, if there's choice A, B, C, what is this choice going to lead me to? Short-term and long-term. What is this choice B going to lead me to? Short-term and long-term. How do I see myself at the end of it, whether it is 1 month down the line or 2 months down the line? How do I see myself? How am I feeling at that point in time? What am I thinking? How do I feel about the decision that I've made? Pretend like I'm in future and like I'm looking back. How do I feel about it? So understanding that is also a great way for you to hone your decision-making skills, and it also helps you understand what you're setting yourself up for while you are making that decision. So I do want to say, like, just as a side note, it may or may not be the outcome that actually happens, and that's okay. All right, that's absolutely okay. It may or may not be the outcome that actually happens, but the fact is that 1, you are mentally preparing yourself for it, and number 2, you are kind of giving yourself that time to figure out, all right, but if it does happen, I am prepared for it. All right, and of course, when it comes to decisions, there's always an opportunity to pivot. Don't forget that. All right, so don't put too much pressure on yourself when you're making decisions, and I guess that comes to the next point. But something that I've written over here for number 3, outcomes, is how does it play out? What's the best case and the worst case scenario? And of course, when it comes to decisions, sometimes there's a risk element that comes for it. And for me in particular, something that I like to do for myself, okay, and I'm just giving you as a pro tip, feel free to take it or leave it, it's really up to you. But for me, there's usually a best case scenario and there's usually a worst case scenario for every choice, right? And if I am not emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially okay to handle the worst case scenario, if it plays out, I do not choose that choice. That's just me. All right. For me, I need to be emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially. These 4 are so important for me to make that choice and to move forward with that choice. And it doesn't matter what aspect of my life, if these 4, even one of them is like, nope, I'm not there. Yeah, that's it. That choice is no longer exists for me. That's not a good choice for me to handle. And I like to feel that these 4 aspects are important and have to be held with equal, I guess, equal, I'm not getting the word right at this moment, but equal, I guess I would say level, all of them have equal importance. Yes, that's the word that I was missing out so much. Okay, so equal importance for me. So it's emotional, physical, mental, and financial. For me, if these four, are okay, I'm able to withstand the risk of the worst case scenario in these four respects, then yeah, that's a choice that I would consider. Otherwise, it's out of the running. It's completely out of the running. Okay, but that's just for me, and that's just a side note that I'd like to give you in case you want to add that in for your thought process as well. All right, so that is number 3 for you, figuring out the outcomes, the best case and the worst case scenario. Are you ready to handle the worst case scenario for the choice that you're picking? And it's not about kind of going negative, I guess I would say. I think it's just about being prepared. Like, you hope for the best, but you are also prepared for the worst. And I think that's the best way to go about it. At least it's the safest way, according to me, to go about something, where you hope for the best. You really, put in all your hard work. You aim for the best and you hope that the best works out. But at the same time, you are safeguarding yourself in case external factors happen or something unseen happens, and then it's the worst case scenario, but you've already safeguarded yourself. Okay, so for me, that actually contributes to the decision making process. And for me, as someone who has been able to protect themselves for the worst case scenario before they've even gone through with the decision, I think that's some smart decision making skills over there. Okay, so that's just my opinion, and I'm just sharing that with you. All right, then we come to number 4, and that is to make a choice. Okay, sometimes you can really get into the whole analysis paralysis of decision making, and then you just never make a decision. So for me, yeah, it's like I always tell myself, okay, time out, just make a decision, go ahead with it. Okay, and sometimes that's what you've got to do. You've got to get out of that analysis paralysis and then just say, you know what, deadline, gotta make a decision. Let's just make a decision and go. We'll figure it out as we go. And that's also something that I've done. So not moving forward with the decision making process also is, I guess I would say, a red flag, because you're constantly in that decision making process, but you're never really taking action. Yeah, that's not good too. So part of the decision-making skill is to make sure that you actually do take action. You actually do move forward with the decision. And sometimes you might not be able to figure out what to do, and that's okay. Just make a decision, make a choice, move forward with it, pivot. Always, like, this is something that I keep telling myself as well. Sometimes I get so scared that, all right, the decision is going to, impact my life, and it's going to do this, and it's going to change all this, and then there's like so much fear. And yes, I get that. I've been there, and this is something that I tell myself always. I can pivot. All right, this is not set in stone. I can make the decision, I can pivot. If I don't feel good about it, I can change the decision. If I don't feel right, I can pivot. I can make changes to the steps that I've taken. And one thing that I keep telling myself is, it's not set in stone. Trust yourself. Trust yourself when you're pivoting. Trust yourself in your decision-making process. And I think that's a huge aspect when it comes to decision-making as well. You've got to trust yourself. And that, of course, builds over time. But even to begin with, it helps if you trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way. I really think that having that confidence, that trust in yourself, really, it opens your eyes when you are making the decision to begin with. And not just that, it also allows you to see the decisions for what they are rather than with a veil of fear. And that itself gives you a magnitude of clarity. So don't underestimate the power of trusting yourself, and make it a part of your decision-making skill honing. All right, that's also something that I do want to say. And over here, I've written, if the decision is too big, okay, maybe it's too big and it scares you, break it down into smaller steps. Always break it down. If it's too big for you and you're hesitant to take that step, break that decision down into smaller decisions. Break it down into smaller steps that are more manageable for you to figure out short term. And then slowly, one by one, it adds up to the bigger decision. All right, so that is another pro tip that I do have for you. Then that's number 4. And then we come to number 5, and that is probably the most important thing when it comes to decision making, skill honing, and that is to reflect. Take the time to reflect. And this is something that I've done for my business as well. Document every decision that you're making. I've not done it for my personal life, though I probably should start getting into that. But for my business, every single thing that I have done from 2019, it is there somewhere in my plethora of journals out there. And the reason why it is so important to document them is because you need to take the time to reflect. It's not just about making the decision and then wiping your hands clean off it and then moving on. No, you've got to understand what happened to that decision you made. What did it lead to? What were some of the external factors that you didn't think of that actually attributed to changes in that decision? Or what was the outcome of that decision? Was it what you anticipated? What other things that you did not anticipate that actually came forth in that decision? What were your thoughts regarding that decision while you were making it? And after you made the decision, what was the impact of that decision, and how did it affect you? How did it affect the people around you? And what were your feelings about it? So on and so forth. That is how you learn from the decisions that you made. You may not have to make the same decision again. Yeah, I completely get that. But you never know when the thought process behind that decision is something that you have to apply for another decision in your life. Or you never know how that one particular decision actually is affecting another decision in another aspect of your life or your business, so on and so forth. So it's really, really important for you to take the time to reflect. And how do you reflect? You take the time by documenting it. And especially when it comes to business, I think it's very, very important because there are so many small decisions that we make. I think every single day, I think I'm making at least one new decision for my business. And I'm pretty sure it's the same for you. And as my business grows, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a much more bigger way of handling my decisions and stuff like that. So it's not just the big ones, it's also the very, very small ones, like slight, I guess I would say, the slight changes even also impact the business in the future, and it becomes big over time. And so don't underestimate the significance of a decision. Don't underestimate the size of the decision and the impact of a small decision that you've made as well. And that is something that I wish to put across. So take the time to reflect, even if you're not actively documenting it. Like, take the time to reflect, maybe journal it out, or even just sit down with yourself, sit down with your thoughts and think about, all right, so that was a decision that I made. Those were the choices that I had, and I chose this choice. So what did that choice lead me to? What were my experiences after that? What were some of the things that I did not account for? What were some of the things that I did account for and showed up? How did I handle that situation? And even through your reflection process, I gotta tell you, it will also build that confidence within you that, yes, I made that decision. I took that step. I went forward with it. There were unexpected circumstances that I found myself into, or experiences that were really hard, but I went through it. I faced up with that decision. I lived through that decision, and I am here today. And yes, it does boost your confidence as well. And so it does set you up for the confidence you need for your future decisions and the more tougher decisions as well. So yeah, that is something that I've written over here. And another point that I've mentioned in my notes is, what did you learn? And how can you apply it to other decisions? These are 2 questions that you can ask yourself as well. And yeah, that wraps up this entire podeo. All I do want to say is decision making is a skill, and it takes time to hone it, just like it is with any other skill out there. But I'm so confident that you will be able to. Now, if these tips have helped you in some way, please do give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because that tells you every single time I upload a podeo, and I do upload a couple of these every single week. And if you have any thoughts, if you have any questions about this video, definitely do leave it in the comment section below. and I'll help you in the best way that I can. Other than that, if you want to catch my 2 books, my first one is 0 to 4 Figures, Lessons Learned by a Broke CEO. That is available on Amazon. It is 61 stories and lessons about digital entrepreneurship, and it covers various topics like business strategy, marketing, self-love, positive mindset, success mindset, growth mindset, so on and so forth. My second book is called Self-Loved. It is a compilation of 1,000 journal prompts aimed towards healing, growth, and self-discovery. That is also available on Amazon, and it covers topics like trauma healing, inner child healing, gratitude, reflection, shadow work, so on and so forth. Other than that, if you want to catch my productivity planners, journals, and trackers, they too are available on Amazon. At the moment of publishing this podeo, there are 18 of them available. And the simplest way to find all of my stuff, whether it's my books, my planners, my journals, and trackers, is to actually just search my full name on Amazon. It's Prithvi Madhukar, Prithvi space Madhukar. The minute you do that, you're going to get an author page for me, and then all of it is just going to show up. And that's the simplest way. All right, thank you so much for watching all the way up until here. I will catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.